So welcome to the Spring 2021 Education Series presented by the Unionville Historic District and Properties Commission. This is the third year the Commission has presented this series as a way to share current information about practical topics that are useful to people who own and maintain historic properties. So the Unionville Historic District and Properties Commission was established by the town of Farmington in 2008 with the purpose of maintaining the historic appearance of properties that voluntarily join the district. The 5 regular and 3 alternate commissioners are appointed by the town council. The commission operates by a set of guidelines based on the National Park Service guidelines for restoration and rehabilitation for historic buildings. The commission's guidelines also take into account practical aspects of maintaining historic buildings in our modern age. I invite you to check out those guidelines online on the Farmington Town website under Unionville Historic District. Installing air conditioning in a historic building is one of the practical challenges we face in 2021. Historic houses were not built with the kind of spaces required for ductwork, compressors, and vents. Retrofitting historic spaces for efficient, comfortable, and affordable AC is a project that requires technical skill, experience, and creativity. We are fortunate tonight to have just such a person to talk about his experience in installing AC in historic homes, A.J. DePellegrini of AirServe of North Central Connecticut. Welcome, A.J., and thanks for joining us tonight.
All right, first of all, thank you, Lisa. I really appreciate the opportunity to represent our company and what we strive to do for everybody and very, technical homes. I'm just going to start with talking a little about myself and our company, and then I'm going to transfer into how to tackle the homes without running, we don't want to ruin aesthetics of the home. That's the major thing. And then this may not suit everybody, but we have other ways of doing things. So, just kind of follow the presentation. What I'm going to do is go through the introduction about myself, the introduction of the company. We're going to take a brief break. If anybody has any questions at that point about the company or our services, I'll be glad to answer them at that point. And then we'll really get into the fun stuff of how we take on these challenges and, how we do things. There will be some photos from actually Lisa's home, which we had the privilege of taking on this past late fall, early winter. So let's go ahead. I'm going to share my screen. And if everyone can kind of just give me a thumbs up and let me know that they see everything we're doing. We'll go from there.
Okay.
Okay. Does everybody see the screen that we have right now?
Yep. Yes. Okay. Yep. All set.
Yes.
All right. Perfect. All right. So just a little bit about myself. Graduated of Windham Technical High School, 2006. I've been in the trade since 2007. Something that separates me from everybody else, I have a lot of trade experience. I've been in the trenches, installed myself. Really, I kind of know start to finish of what's required and how these homes work. I've been a home comfort designer for the past 3 years, left the trade and installation and everything like that. I have a background in sheet metal design, fabrication, gas and oil split systems, regular air conditioning split systems, air source heat pumps, boilers, oil tanks. So pretty widespread on how everything works. So just to get into about us, this whole thing is just to kind of tell you how important it is to know who you're dealing with, what they're all about, and what their goals are when they come into your home. So this slide I really like. Vince Lombardi has a great little quote, the achievement of an organization are the results of the combined effort of each individual. That's not only individuals on our end, It really is the combined effort. You as a consumer make us great as we strive to be great is basically what I take out of that. We really do strive to have perfect installations, clean, neat projects, and start to finish, no questions asked. Our mission is to make sure that you have a happy, healthy home at the end of our installation. You know, it pretty much says it for itself. To keep the air in which we live and breathe comfortable and clean so that people live happier, healthier lives. We really do go into your home and make sure that what we're installing is not only going to heat and cool your home, but you are going to have great air filtration and making sure that you're comfortable day in, day out, you know, whether you're sleeping, awake, at work, whatever, everything is taken care of. Our promises, this is a big thing. We will return your calls same day, whether it's, you know, evenings, at night, holidays, it doesn't matter. We will make sure that if you call in, we're going to be there no matter what. The other thing is, the biggest thing, and it's a quote I like, is we will never promise you the world and deliver a golf ball. There's a lot of companies that will go there and say, you know, we're going to give you this, this, and that. And then at the end of it, it's nothing that you appreciate. We'll always listen to you and put you first as a customer of ours. The biggest thing for us is that it's your home. We're just guests there. And we really want to strive to keep that relationship to where whatever your needs are, we're going to take care of them. We basically work for you. That you don't work for us, we work for you. You pay our wages, and we acknowledge that. We're never going to sit here and, you know, argue with you. If you need something done, we're going to be there as quick as we possibly can. We'll stand by all our guarantees and warranties, and we'll briefly touch on that. We'll go through all of our guarantees in a couple slides here, so that you can see exactly what you're going to get when we come into your home. Respect for your home, it, you know, touches a little bit on, you know, you as a customer. Obviously, it's your home. We have to acknowledge that, and we have to take care of it. Whether it's your lawn or garden or whatever, or your floors, your walls, you know, the guys wear booties. They'll make sure everything's, you know, done and cleaned up when they leave. No profanity, tobacco use, etc., etc. And if any of these things happen on your property, I really would love to know that so that we can correct these things. The last thing on this page is insurance. You have to be careful with who you go for. You know, we do carry a very high insurance policy, especially when you start getting into these older homes. Insurance is a major thing. If anything were to happen, unfortunate accidents, you know, we're all human. We're not robots. You know, nobody's perfect, but just be very careful on who you choose. At the end of the day, make sure that everyone's insured and is used to working in homes like this. All of our crew, installers, home comfort designers like myself, you know, owners, everything, background checks are done not only statewide, but nationwide. We make sure that if they've moved from Wisconsin or Texas or wherever, that they don't have anything that we don't know about. Driving records are checked. We do drug tests, pre-employment and randomly. And we check their employment history just to kind of make sure that everybody is what they say they are. The interview process we go through, they obviously sit down with the owner first, and then usually it'll be myself or another senior staff that will go through and you know, make sure that everything's up to par and that we really do trust them. We do ongoing training with any product we sell. 80 hours is, in my opinion on this slide, is a pretty light judgment. We do probably 30 hours of Daikin, and then another at least 40 hours for Goodman and Amana separately. So like I said, that's a little bit light on the hours of instruction. This is what I was talking about earlier about our satisfaction guarantees, and I'll just kind of run through this briefly. Basically, our satisfaction guarantee, the main one is that if you're not completely satisfied in the first year, we're going to come back, we're going to take out whatever we did, and we'll install brand new free of charge. Performance guarantee, that's my job. I'm going to go into your home. We'll touch more on that later in the show as well. But I do a full heat and cooling load on the entire home, measure every room, windows, doors, etc., to make sure that whatever we're putting in is going to sustain basically an average in New England. We run on 88 degrees during summer months and 8 degrees during winter months, which is basically the average in Connecticut. The no quibble, we are human, we do make mistakes, and this is also on my end. If I miss anything in the quote, or we don't install something that should have been installed, that's not your fault. That is my fault. And once again, I'm human. We will take ownership of that, and we will come back and we will make anything that was missed or that you were promised, we will make it, right 100% at no cost to you. The no lemon guarantee, basically saying, if anything fails majorly, and that works on a yearly plan. You could do a 1 year, 5 year, 10 year. We'll make sure that if any of those things fail, we're coming back to fix them, free of charge as well. System assurance, this is also another kind of policy thing. You can go 1 year, 5 year, or 10 year. Basically what that plan is that if a component fails that's under warranty based on product warranty, the part is free. Like Amana and Goodman, that's going to be a 10-year. Daikin is a 12-year. If anything fails in the first year, it's automatically covered through us. That's included with our contracts. You can upgrade for, I think it's like $500 for a 5-year plan. And then you can also upgrade for a 10-year plan at $700. What that does is say, okay, a part fails. We're going to come back not only to fix that part, but we are not going to charge you labor on top of that part. And then the last one is just 24/7 service. This is included for everybody. We're 24/7, 7 days a week, every hour, holidays, it does not matter. One of our technicians gets a call, no heat, no cooling. As long as you're a customer of ours, we'll be directly out to you, and we'll try to get you back up and running. Obviously, there are times where it's not possible during those times, but we'll do our absolute best to get you back up and running. This slide I really do like. It kind of gives you a breakdown of how you invest your money. Anything heating or cooling obviously is a big investment, and we do realize that as a company. A lot of times I'll get a customer like, well, how much is this and how much is this? This kind of gives you a breakdown of what everything costs. So, top right here of the pie chart is 38% is equipment. That's all your major components, your big equipment, your air handlers, your furnaces, your boilers, your oil tanks, et cetera, et cetera. 25% is client support. And this is kind of a big thing, because this is, our trucks, paying for our infrastructure, our insurances, our training, our accounting. Dispatch is the biggest thing. If we don't have dispatch, we can't pay dispatch. We can't get out to you when you make that call, in the middle of the night, or on, New Year's Eve or Christmas Eve, or right before you're about to have Thanksgiving dinner. If we don't have that dispatch, we can't pay our employees. We can't do anything. On top of that, warranty costs, taxes, tools, phones. 17% of it's labor. That's just our workforce. We have to pay our guys, or else they don't come to work. 8% is parts and supplies. That's the excessive stuff, the installation, a little bit of wire here, solder, braze, permits, etc. and then we make a 12% profit on everything. So that's kind of a cool little breakdown, kind of shows you what we're about and how we make things manage on our end. So for investment factors, once again, we do realize that this is a big investment. No matter what you're trying to do, you're upgrading, you're replacing everything. It's an investment. We realize that. These are the 4 things that we really key in on and make sure, and we will promise you that are going to be done right. The technical requirements, we go back to the heat gain and loss calculations, making sure that everything's the right size for your home. The code requirements, we are vigilant about how things are installed, and especially being in a historic society, we do have some hoops that we have to jump through at times with zoning issues and stuff like that. And we're ready to take that on. We are not, nervous about it at all. We'll draw up diagrams, we'll pull their prints, whatever they request out of us, we'll make sure is done 100%. Indoor air quality, AirServ's big on making sure that whatever we install is going to have a good filtration system on it. We'll get rid of, most of your odors and pet dander and everything else like that. We really, really strive to make sure that everyone's, breathing properly. We have different packages. If you do have an older home and you deal with pollen issues or any kind of basic bacteria issues or mold issues or anything like that, we can put packages in that take care of those scenarios. The last is really, it's on you. You get to choose who you want in your home for a minimum of 6 to 8 hours. We were in Lisa's home for probably about 3 weeks intermittently, working with the contractors, the framers, the electricians, everything else like that. You really don't want to choose somebody that doesn't respect that and doesn't respect your home. The most important day of your system is the day it's installed, and making sure it's done right. No cutting corners, not taking any chances. Just make sure everything's done right when your system is installed, and that'll put a long life on your system. So the true cost of ownership. This one's kind of neat. So basically, your initial investment, your efficiency, comfort, system health, and lifespan is all based on us. We can only do so much to give you that. And the next slide is going to kind of explain it a little bit more in depth. Actually, we'll jump right to that. So basically, there's your packages. Okay, we'll offer, and these packages you kind of have to use to your advantage. Sometimes, it's not always better to go with the most expensive, but at times it doesn't pay you to go cheap either. Initial cost, you're losing efficiency, comfort, IAQ, the warranties, everything else like that. And as you stage yourself up, you'll see that at the end of the road, the more you make for an initial investment is better for your home. But we're not the type of company to come here and say you have to spend on a platinum series if you don't need it. We're going to come in and we're going to put you in the best one of these 4 categories based on what you want, how you want your home to operate. And like I said, you design your system. I just work for you. So we'll guarantee you have a safe, efficient, reliable home. That's it. And that's basically what everything boils down to. We will never, ever turn our backs, and we'll make sure everything's done top notch the way it should be done. And this basically at the end of this just tells you, what we're going to do. This is, survey your current system. We'll consider the requirements for your home. And it's just really touching base on everything we just spoke about. We will measure all your windows and doors. We'll check your current ventilation and airflow. And we'll determine from everything that we gathered what is required to heat and cool your home. The biggest thing I want to go back to is that we have that performance guarantee. if it's not performing to your standards or you think something is wrong, we will come back and we will replace that system. And you basically, the right solutions, you get to choose who you want. You're the only person that can choose your best solution. You're the only person that can tell me what you want and how you want it done, and we'll just follow your direction. So at this point, I'm gonna ask for any questions.
Same. If anyone has any questions, you can raise your hand using the Zoom feature or just jump in.
It's the first time I've used the raise the hand feature.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, I'm very proud of myself. So AJ, I wanted to ask, you were talking about, and people get to choose, and you are very respectful of, you were very respectful of our opinions and our thoughts and our plans and things like that. But how many people know exactly what they want from an air conditioning system when you go in to talk to them for the first time? Or are most people kind of like, I don't know what to do, just, you know, you design it, you install it? What's your experience with that?
I mean, that's a very good question, because not everybody understands exactly what's out there or new technology or anything like that. And Lisa, I'm sure you know, well, you know me from personal experience, but that's kind of my job, is to, you know, kind of lead you in the right direction and point you in the right direction. But at the end of the day, I can't choose what direction you want to go in. I can only inform you as much as I can. So there are certain applications where people know exactly what they want. And I can either say, okay, that's a great idea, or I can say, well, let's look at this option because from experience, this might be better. Does that answer your question?
It does. Yeah. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else?
So I'm not seeing any other hands raised right now. Nope, there's one. Let's see. Evan, go right ahead. You can unmute yourself.
Thank you. I don't know, I can pull this hand down. Good evening, everybody. I just wanted to say thank you very much. My name is Evan Honeyman. I'm a member of the Farmington Historic District Commission, and I think these programs are great. This is my first one that I've been able to attend. So thank you for organizing. Thank you for presenting. And I think this is very valuable material. So thank you very much.
Great. Thanks for joining us this evening.
Thanks, Evan.
All right. Anybody else? We can probably, you know what, AJ, why don't you go ahead and then we'll take questions again at the end, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Well, at the end of this slide, we'll take some more questions.
Perfect.
So with the historic homes, you know, obviously ductwork's a challenge in areas, heating, cooling, you know, whether it's an addition that's not, you know, that has been added on after 10, 15, 20, 30 years. Sometimes things just don't work and don't heat or cool certain areas the way that they should. In my experience, I don't want to say the easiest, but the best way to take on these are ductless splits. And this first slide just kind of shows you a few different options. Once we get farther into the slideshow, you're going to see actual installations of all of these units. So, you know, here is just kind of a brief example of an outdoor unit. Can you see my mouse?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this is just like a kind of like a brief description of an outdoor unit. So up here is going to be kind of your standard wall mounted unit, something you would see, you know, just not going above and beyond. These two over here are called an Amira series. These are more of a, how do I want to put it? If you have like a lot of wooden structure and stuff in your home, you don't really want to disrupt it with something white. They're more of a rough cut, newer age type style of a system, you know, just rough cut edges, and they look kind of nice. This down here is a 4x4 ceiling cassette. We do have to be careful with this application in homes, especially historical homes, because a lot of you have rough cut timber for ceiling joists and stuff like that. To header these out, we need about 30 by 24 inches. So you'd actually have to header out the ceiling joists. We've done it in the past. It's very challenging. Definitely need a contractor on board to try anything like that. These are what we call a ducted concealed unit. They're capable of 2 tons of cooling, anywhere from 9,000 BTU to 24,000 BTU. So that's basically 3/4 of a ton up to 2 tons of cooling. This right here is a floor mounted console. And like I said, I do have images of pretty much everything except for the Amira series put in here. The Amira series is more of like a modern home type feel. But the floor consoles, I do have pictures of that put in. Basically, they're a 24 by 24 cassette that we can either recess or flush mount to a wall. We flush mount them to the floor, and we go from there. All of these units are capable of hooking up to a multi-zone condenser. So we can either do single zone, which would be one of these items attached to one of these units, or we can attach up to 5 of these units over here up to one of these condensers, but you'll see how they get larger as we try to accomplish that. So a traditional air conditioning system, basically what you're doing is taking hot gas from the home. So you're taking a low pressure, low temperature vapor out of the home, you're condensing it, and you're dumping all of your heat in the outdoor coil, which is your condensing coil. You're then blowing a fan across it, running it, and then cooling down that gas, bringing it back into the home. Once you hit your indoor evaporator coil over here, now you're blowing that cold refrigerant into the home. So with the ductless splits, they're not just air conditioning, they're not just heating, they are heat pumps. So basically what we do in that instance is we install a reversing valve. So you can now take and you can dump your cold refrigerant outdoors, come back through. Well, actually, you're coming back off your compressor this way. You're dumping all your hot refrigerant into your inside coil, blowing that warm air inside, and then dumping your cold air back out through your expansion device. So when you go into cooling, this reversing valve turns, and we do the complete opposite. So that's how you get heating and cooling out of these units. There are a couple different styles, and I'll touch base on that briefly. There are low ambient outdoor units, which are capable of running down to -13 degrees and being efficient. There are non-low ambient outdoor units, which will shut off at around 5 degrees. So you'll definitely get your shoulder month usage out of them. You can cut down your oil, gas, or whatever you're using for fossil fuel. You can subsidize that with these. If you're purely electric, or which is kind of rare in old homes, then what I would suggest is the low ambient, where you're going to cut your electricity usage down by 50 to 60% by installing a heat pump, ductless split system. So the neat thing about multi-zone ductless, you can have, like over here, you'll see there's one bank and they show you a display of 7 rooms. You can have your dining room off. You can say, I want this room 76. I want this room 73. You can choose different temperatures for each room. This plays into factor a lot with if you have, younger adults in the home, teenagers, stuff like that. I don't want my room to be 80 degrees, but you like it to be 80 degrees. Everyone's going to have their own control over their own room or own areas. If you don't utilize the space as much as you normally do, you can say, okay, let's just keep that room warm enough so where it's comfortable. But when I have guests over, I can turn that room up or I can turn that room down. It gives you more flexibility across the entire home. So this just kind of shows you condensers, the outdoor units that you would see. 1.5 to 3 ton systems are going to be your smaller unit over here. Your 3 ton to 5 ton systems start to get to dual fan systems. They do get larger. And the reason I really wanted to touch on this is because They are heat pumps. We'll go over snow stands and stuff like that. They do sit outside. If you ever get a snow load above, the bottom of this fan, it's going to stop this fan from running. So we put a snow stand underneath, and I'll show you an image coming up soon, to raise it off the ground and put it on an equipment pad. So that way you don't have to worry about, we sell them 12, 18-inch stands, and we put the 3-inch pad underneath them. You got to be careful if you really want a 3 to 5 ton system, because they are very large. By the end of the day, putting them on a stand, you're looking at pretty much a 6-foot tall system. They are very slim, and we can tuck them pretty close to the house, within 8 to 10 inches. So we can tuck them into corners, but you have to be aware that they do get very large. This is an image of a snow stand. This would have a plastic pad underneath it. This is a wall mounted bracket. The reason I want to touch base on these is because we can go higher up on buildings. However, we do not recommend them for any type of wooden siding, sheathing, anything like that. You would have to have at least a 3-foot foundation wall or a brick home in order for this to utilize. The reason being is it will cause vibration, and it will send that vibration through that wall. So if you have any kind of, vinyl siding, cedar siding, anything like that, you don't want to go with this option. I know it's a lot better looking and everything else like that, but you will carry that sound and that vibration into the home. So this is Lisa. So this is one of her units. She actually had 2 units installed. This is one on the driveway side of her home with the stand, the pad, the unit mounted, everything else like that. This is what they use for a cover. So it kind of shows you that we do agree with you hiding them, but they used a lattice, which is breathable. It allows the unit to breathe. You cannot box these units in with plywood or anything else like that. They have to be able to send the air through the coils to be able to dissipate heat or dissipate the cold air, whether they're in heat pump or air conditioning mode. If you look kind of over here, you could barely see it, but there's one of her line sets coming down, which is in a gutter hide, which I will also touch base on later in this video. Wall mounted units. So this is just an image of a wall mount system. Not saying that this is what you want. The biggest thing with wall mounted units is everyone wants them tucked up, out of the way, out of sight, out of mind. And we agree. However, we do have to have a clearance above the top of this unit. We have to have a 4 to 5 inch minimum up here. The reason being for that is these units have a return air that comes in at the top of these units, along with a temperature sensor. If we pull them too tight to the ceiling, they will not read air temp properly, and they will not return air properly. You'll end up with faults in codes. So keep that in mind if we are going to go with a wall mounted unit. This is a ducted concealed unit. We actually did this for the second floor of Lisa's home. They had some problem areas, very small ceilings and short attic space. What these ducted conceals can do, and I believe we did a 1-ton, Lisa, upstairs for you. Okay, I don't know if Lisa's there.
Yes, AJ, that's right, a 1-ton.
Yeah, so we did a 1-ton upstairs. This system here takes care of 3 upstairs bedrooms that are extremely hard to get to. The way that this works is a basic air handler with heat pump technology. So the coil can deal with hot or cold refrigerant, and it also works with the system. So it has variable fan speeds. It will modulate itself on refrigerant flow up or down. We utilized, you can see on the picture to the left here, they had a small closet. We ended up utilizing that closet for an equipment room. She has a small return right down here on the sidewall with a controller over here. Or actually her controller is down here in the hallway. We put supplies, so you'll see this. It's a traditional look for central air, and she has that in 3 rooms in her upstairs. That'll take care of those 3 rooms off of that one central controller. So very, very sleek little units. We can tuck them into tight spots and make things happen. Floor mounted units. So we had touched base on that earlier. This is in a kitchen. This is a recessed unit. We can actually, if this unit were not recessed tight up against the wall, it would stick out about 2 inches farther. But if you're up for the challenge and you want to hire a contractor to, you know, header off some wall studs, we can slide the units in tight. It ends up about 5.5, 6 inches off of the wall. They're about 24 deep and 24 tall. Same thing, inverter driven, fan speeds modulate, everything modulates, everything's got its own control. These are the recessed ceiling cassettes. So I don't know if you remember earlier, I was talking about headering and how it can be, you know, challenging in larger homes. So basically this is a new construction home. You can see the 2x8 framing on the ceiling. If you do have an addition with modern framing, what we do is we header each joist. We can slide this unit in, make it accessible from the side. And this is the flush cut. You look at the bottom. This is where your air diffuses from. And this would be a return here. We can either do wall mounted controls or remote control with those systems as well. Slim duct. So everyone, how is it going to look on the outside of my house? How are you going to hide the refrigeration lines? So we can provide 3 different colors, ivory being the top, white being the middle, brown being the bottom. They sell them 90s, 45s, wall outlets, basically anything you can imagine they make for these inside 90s, outside 90s, inside 45s, outside 45s. So we can get around just about anything you want, but this is what you would be seeing on the outside of your home. And here's basically an image. Like if we had come off the gable end of your home, you would see a downspout here. You actually see another one here. And if we can, we utilize the basement as much as we possibly can. So say your outdoor unit was on the other side of the house, but you had these 2 heads here. You would still see these 2 downspouts, but what we would do is come into the basement and run across the basement to the outside unit on the other side of the home. We do not like to come and wrap around your entire home with slim duct because obviously it ruins everything. All right, and that's pretty much the end of the show. I'd love to take some more questions if anybody has any, and my information is down below. I really appreciate you all for joining and listening to me. And there's one more thing I actually did want to touch on. I talked to everyone earlier about there is financing available for this, and I'm just going to touch very lightly. Financing through Energize CT and Eversource for these heat pumps is pretty big. They'll go down to 0.99% interest based on what you have for a prior fuel source. They'll go up to 15 grand for 10 years at 0.99% interest. And it's just really, really easy money. So if you really want to look into it, but you don't want to spend everything all up front, I'll talk to you more about investing. Get a hold of me and I'll talk to you about how those loans work.
I have a.
No, please go ahead,
I'm
Barbara.
sorry. I have a question. We have snow. We've had 7 feet of snow. How does that work with the outside?
So at that point, yeah, that is a good question. So at that point, really, when we start getting above 21, so if we did an 18-inch stand and the pad, you're good up to about 21 inches based on where it is. So at that point, you have to make sure you're going out and kind of cleaning around it. I know that we've had those rare occasions where it has been 7 feet, 3 feet, 4 feet. But basically, it's just making sure that if you are using the system during those months, that you at least just clean away from the unit. You don't have to dig the whole entire unit out. You want to protect the bottom of that fan.
And
Lisa, have you had to go out and clean around your unit this winter?
no, not at all. No,
No.
didn't even come close.
Okay.
And AJ, the duct conduit on the exterior can be painted, right?
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
That's all. It's a two-piece vinyl system. And actually, Ted did paint yours in that one little area. He painted it white to match everything. Everything is paintable. So if we don't have a direct match, I'll put you closest to the color we can find. A lot of people find it okay after a little bit of time. They don't really mind it. Other people want that exact match. So if you bring a sample down and you wanted to brush it or spray it or however you wanted to deal with that, it is completely paintable. And there's no questions asked. It'll work. It'll hold.
So Lisa, sorry.
No. Go ahead.
You are going to plant around your unit there that's on the driveway side, right?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
So it'll be concealed to some extent.
That's right. That's right.
So
Okay.
Sherry, it's a big thing when people bring up planting around it. We do not tell you not to plant around it. However, when you do choose a plant, don't get like a thick bush or something viney or something like that that's going to want to grow and attach itself to the unit.
Oh, right.
You want to protect it, and a lot of people, they use like a tall seagrass or something like that. Something that's not very, it doesn't grow that big. It's easy to trim. You cut it down at the end of the year for the winter and it grows right back the next year. There's, several shrubs you can use and stuff like that. The biggest thing is let them breathe. You don't want really anything 18 inches to the face, and also serviceability. Making sure that our techs, when they come there, they're not trying to, dig through the jungle to get back to the unit.
Good point.
It's just things to kind of be aware of. And lattice is a very good idea. I know Ted had talked about, some kind of like fake beehive or something like that. As long as air can move, you can put whatever you would like around it.
AJ, what's the most? Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say if anyone else had a question, so go ahead.
I was just curious, AJ, about the most challenging historic house you've ever worked on.
Yours is up there.
Yours.
Okay.
Yours is in the top 3. But I actually had one in Amston, Connecticut, which was it. The homeowner wanted a lot of equipment, and it was definitely challenging to try to fit everything in without ruining the home. He had another company in there prior to us. They installed, and actually the equipment was only 2 years old, but nothing worked right. Nothing was what he thought it was going to be, and that one was a strugul. So, but that one will always rest. I still kind of have nightmares about that project. but no, I mean, I enjoy it too. I pride myself in, nobody's perfect. Nobody can like I say, you can't promise the world and deliver a golf ball, but I pride myself in challenging things, because if I just did the easy stuff every day, I'd be so bored. I wouldn't know what to do with myself. So, I really do. I like the challenge. It's a little change, and it makes me happy. So,
well, these old houses are challenging in so many ways.
They are, and like I said, it's not all the time. You can't make everything 100% comfortable. There's gonna be areas that are not gonna work properly. Like I said, during the presentation, when I said there's additions that are put on these homes, I mean, some of these homes have had 6, 7, 8 additions put on them, throughout the years. And it's all how it's framed and trying to make it the best of everything, but you can't promise the world. It's just, you're either going to deliver it or you're not. You got to make sure that when you're doing things like this, and with Lisa, it was hard because we ended up having to do 2 outdoor units.
Mhm.
I think you pretty much had every variation of a ductless split put in your home.
Yeah.
I mean, you got floor consoles, you got wall mounts, you got ducted concealed. You pretty much have it all there, and it's just how you do it, and you try to keep the cost down. And that's the biggest thing. Is at the end of the day, we understand money too. You know, I can't come in your house and say, oh yeah, I'll do it for, you know, $100,000, no problem. You know, I'll never sell anything. So
Yeah.
but it's trying to keep things reasonable and make sure that everyone's comfortable at the end of the day.
You also had a gentleman who worked with you who could crawl through the smallest spaces. I would get like anxiety attacks watching him go in. So he was in spaces in our basement no human being's ever been. And we were so impressed with these little spaces that you'd find that you would maximize to connect the ductwork and bring it into different parts of the house so that it wasn't, nothing showed on the exterior, or a minimum showed on the exterior.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's what we strive for. Honestly, well, how many guys did I bring there? They don't all work for us anymore. No, I'm just kidding.
It might still be under here.
Yeah. No, they're all still here. But no, it's there. You got to do what you have to do, and at the end of the day, you know, it's you get what you pay for, and it's just everything's a challenge. So, but our guys are willing to go through it, and you know, Dan was actually mad at me that I didn't have him crawl into some of those spaces. He was really, you know, wanted to go in them, and I brought Mike, and Dan was all mad at me. I'm like, are you kidding me? I thought I did you a fit. I thought you were done, you know.
AJ, I've got a question regarding the control panels. Is there a central control panel, or does each room have one? Is there remote controls for them? Does it all look like a little digital tablet on the mounted on the wall?
So they do sell, you know, a few different versions of everything. We are trying to stay away from the Wi-Fi stuff right now. They do have some issues, and I'll be just blank with you. We don't really, I don't even think they have it figured out at this point. Sure. We've done a couple smaller jobs where people really requested them, and we just keep having, you know, the same issues, communication issues and stuff like that. So is there a possibility in the future? Absolutely. But for right now, like the ducted concealed I showed you in Lisa's closet, that works off a central thermostat, similar to what you'd have in your home for heating or cooling. The floor consoles and the wall mounts all have just a remote controller for each separate room. The four-way cassettes, the recessed cassettes that you saw, those can go either way. We can either do remote control, or we could do a centralized thermostat on those.
Okay.
But
so
like I said, the technology is getting there, but we tread lightly with using Wi-Fi, especially like in a home like Lisa and Ted. And a lot of it has to do too. Interference plays a big factor in that. Sure. There's a lot of, you know, whether some of the knob and tube wiring is still in play, or, you know, that causes major chatter with the Wi-Fi signal and stuff like that. So we tread lightly, especially in historic homes, with trying to get everything all in one hub.
So in the upstairs where there's the 3 rooms, and there's the one thermostat that controls the 3 rooms. So those 3 rooms would then be at the same temperature, as opposed to having a mini split in each room that had their own temperature control.
Correct. So, you know, the biggest thing was, if we were to try to attack those 3 rooms separately with 3 different units, obviously you have more gutter height, you have more wiring, refrigeration, piping, etc. You're going to get into more outdoor units. So it at that point, you're starting to really cut up the home. And with Lisa and Ted, they really wanted to focus on not a lot outside, as much as they could get inside to make every room comfortable. So with that ducted concealed, those 3 rooms, it basically runs like a traditional central air system. The thermostat's located in a hallway over the top of a return. So we're sensing air coming back from those rooms. We're not sensing air being distributed into those rooms.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, you're very welcome.
Anyone else have any questions? Want to jump in?
Yeah, sure. I have a question. Thanks for your presentation, AJ. Very informative. I'm wondering, is there any difference at all in maintenance between all the different air conditioning solutions that you showed us, or is it pretty consistent?
That's a good question. So basically all of our units consist of three major items that we're really focusing on. One, air filtration, the wall mounts, the floor mounts, the ceiling recess, the four-way. Those all have slide out filters. They are washable right in your sink. You can wash them as many times. If you wanted to wash them every 2-3 weeks, you could bring them to your sink, wash them, dry them out, put them back in. They all have nano filters inside of them, as well as charcoal filters. So on that end, it's pretty easy. When we come to do our service, the main things we look at is electrical components. We're going to sit there, we're going to test, to make sure that your capacitors and panels and everything are drawing the proper amperage. We're not over amping anything or anything like that. We're going to obviously check your filter. We purge the drains. We bring nitrogen into the home and push to make sure the drains don't have any kind of sludge buildup or anything like that. Other than that, we don't even bring our gauges out to a system unless you're going off on a code. The reason being is because they're all modulating systems. We don't know whether they're running at 75% capacity, 30% capacity, 110% capacity. So if anybody goes and hooks their gauges up to your system and they tell you, oh, hey, you have a high head pressure, then you might as well just kick them off your property because that's not what you're there for. So honestly, they're pretty simple to maintain. The outdoor units, we really focus on, if you're in a high pollen area or something like that, making sure the outdoor coils are clean. They're all coated C grade. So basically, they're coated for heavy salt and heavy moisture. So it's really, really hard to get these coils nasty and corroding. But we do recommend, and our technicians will recommend, that if you're in a high pollen area, take a light, garden hose and just kind of wash them down every couple of months, especially during the high pollen months. Other than that, super, super easy to maintain. We do offer, when we install these pieces of equipment for the first year, we're going to come out and do a free maintenance for you. You can stand over the guy's shoulder, but it's cheap enough to where I think it's like $239, one-time thing, 1 year, and we come out, clean everything, make sure everything's good to go for you.
Thanks.
Did that answer all your questions, Ed?
Yeah, definitely. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Anybody else have a question? I'm not seeing any hands raised or anything at the moment, AJ. So
that was great, AJ.
That was really informative.
Did everybody get my information off of that last slide?
I think so. And I'll post it with the meeting minutes, and the video gets posted to the website because it's part of our regular meeting. So it'll be a day or two, but the recording will get posted, so we can always capture it from the video as well.
No, that's awesome. And I didn't really touch base on it, but all of our estimates are free. You don't have to pay me $1 million to come out and assess your home. I don't care if it takes an hour or 7. We'll sit down, we'll answer all your questions, and make sure you guys are good to go. So feel free to call, and I hope that everyone learned something tonight.
That's great. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, that was terrific, AJ.
It was wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Y'all are very welcome, and have yourselves a good night, and thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely.
Thank you, AJ. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
So I just want to thank you, everybody, for joining us this evening, and remind you that our second session in this series is Thursday, April 1st at 7 p.m. We'll be looking at new products for historic home projects and a look at the history of Sanford and Hawley, and that'll be done by the Sanford and Hawley staff, expert in both areas. So we hope you'll join us again on April 1st, and we'll see you then.